Hi guys, today I'll be going through what JIT is and how to use JIT commands. I've already posted the JIT commands cheat sheet on my website, but I'll be going through how to use it. So, JIT is actually a version control system. It helps us be able to store our files, folders, and repositories from our computer somewhere else in the cloud. So for software engineers, our code is like our life. We spend a lot of time writing code, and imagine if I were to just save it on my computer, right? And one day my computer crashes or my memory wiped out, right? The world is like the end already right now. So to avoid this, we have JIT that help us facilitate saving our code somewhere else. So we can use a cloud to save. We can save our stuff to a cloud, and the most common one would be GitHub. So I've already created a GitHub repository to save my project in. And so now I'm going to create a project to save. So I'll just use Vite as it's a really efficient way to create a project, and I'll just name it JIT intro and initialize it to React and JavaScript. And then our ls means looking in my folder, and then I'm gonna go into my file, JIT intro. cd means to go into my file. After which I'm gonna open up my project, which is code means VS Code . So now I have opened up my project, and I want to save my project onto the cloud, i.e. my GitHub. How can I do so? So the first things first is I need to tell my project, okay, I want to use JIT. So I will open up my terminal on my JIT project. I would suggest you open up your terminal on the project that you are in, so that you won't actually lose track of where you're at, because here I can see that I'm literally in my project, and you have to initialize your JIT in your project. So I will JIT init. This is me telling my project that I want to use JIT, so I JIT init. Okay, so this just tells my project I'm going to use JIT now, and I want to save my project. Let me open up my terminal to be bigger. So this is now my entire terminal. Okay, so after initializing my JIT, right, I want to tell my JIT on my project to say like I want to save certain files. So how can I tell JIT that I want to save what files? So I can just JIT add, and I can actually name the files that I want to save. I can write JIT ignore is one file that I want to save. So I just save one file right now, JIT ignore, and I can actually check what files that I just saved by writing JIT status. So this tells me, okay, I saved this new file, but these other files I never save. But usually most of the time you want to save all files. So how can you do so? I will JIT add -a. Alternatively, you can JIT add full stop. So JIT add full stop, and then I go and check again. What have I added? Oh, I've added everything. So now I've added everything in my current project into, and I told JIT that I want to save all these files. So now save into this area called a staging area. And if you don't know what it is, it's okay. It's just a name for an area where I can change my mind. So workspace is like my computer. Staging area is just a place where I can tell JIT, okay, I want to save this file A, B, C. But at a point in time, if I don't want to save the file, right, I can actually tell it, okay, I want to remove. So I just write JIT rm and the file name. And then you can remove it from here, and then it will just become red, and you exclude it. But I'm not going to do that. So after saving the file into this staging area, right, I know that, okay, now I know I want to save all this file and I want to push it into the cloud eventually. So I first have to push it into my local repository. Means JIT will save it in my local repo to tell them like, okay, these files are saved. So in order to do that, I have to JIT commit. So whenever I commit, right, I have to write a message along with it. So I'll write -m, and then I'll save a message. Usually there's a convention to write a JIT message, but today I won't be going through that, so I'll just name it whatever I'm doing. So it's best to commit often, because it gives you an idea of what you're doing then, and I'll show you later like what exactly it is. So right now I'm just saving all my files, right? So I can write initializing repository. You can actually write whatever you want. So I've just committed. So what does that do? So if I git status again, I will see, okay, nothing is in my staging area anymore. So where did it all go? So I can git log. And then git log actually tells me, like git log is like in git, right? It keeps track of everything that you're doing. It's like transaction history. So right now in my git log, there's one transaction at 9 May at 1 a.m. I have actually committed something and it's initializing repositories. So that's why I really highly suggest you commit often, because you can keep track. You have like a transaction history, and with this transaction history, right, you can actually go back to whatever. Like for example, today I committed 3 times, right? Then I realized on my last commit I made a mistake and it crashed my whole application. I can actually go back to the previous commit by doing some commands. So anyway, what I just did is just I committed it into my local repository. Okay, so right now it's so complicated here, right? My commands are so complex. I can actually clear it so that I can help you, so it won't be so messy for you. How do I clear my thing? It doesn't do anything, it just clears whatever you see on the right. I did clear so that you can not be confused with so many lines of code. So after I commit, I want if I refresh, right, my cloud, right, still don't have my code there. So what is going on? So you're actually only committing to your local repository. If you want to commit to your remote repository, you have to do certain configurations first on your first ever time lah. So in here, there's actually instructions for you to do. So what I've done is up till here, I've committed already. You don't need to create a branch, because usually when you created a project, you git init, they will have already created a branch for you. It's usually called either master or main, but you can check by looking at what branches you have by typing git branch. So when I git branch, I realized that I only have one branch and my branch is called main. So now I want to push into my cloud, right? I need to tell my project in my computer where I want to push. So where I want to push is written here. Git remote at origin, git at GitHub, and then my repository is git intro. I created a new repository just for this project, and you should do that too. So I need to tell my git, my project git, that I want to push to here. So I hope you've already did all your setup by linking your VS Code to your GitHub. But a quick hack would be to log in through this way, or you can use SSH or another method, but I won't go through it now. So I'm just gonna remote tell my project that I want to upload all my project stuff into here. So I'll use this line of code. For me, it's a bit different because I'm using SSH, so I will do my necessary configurations. But if you're already logged in, right, you can just copy and paste. So right now you enter, it will just take note that my git remote has taken the new origin. Then now I want to push. You can push using this command here, but I usually like to avoid that because sometimes people's branch may not be named main, or they might not have created branch main. So I will usually just write git push, and then they will tell me, okay, you use git push this. So I'll copy and then I'll paste. So now I've officially pushed all my things to my cloud. It might take some time because it'll take some time to push. So now I pushed. So when I refresh my GitHub, I'll see, oh, my files are now inside my GitHub. So that's the first few commands, which is git init and git add, git commit, git status, and git branch. Okay. So now I'll go to another way. So the more commands. So let's say in my computer, I don't have this folder. Let me remove, I'll go back out and then let me see, I have this folder git intro, right? Let me remove it, rm-rm git intro folder. So let's say I don't have this folder, I lost my whole computer, right? Just literally like rebooted and I lost all my files. It's gone. So now in my folder, I don't have this project, GG. How can I get it back? So in order to get back your project folder into your computer, right, you click this button here and you click HTTPS and you clone it. But for me, I use SSH, so I'll be using this, but all you have to do is just write git clone and then copy and paste this, copy and paste it here. But for me, it's a bit different, so I'll just copy and paste it here and do my configurations. Okay, so now I am bringing back whatever that I saved back into my computer. So it just tells me it's cloning. Yay, I received my folders back here. So my git intro is back here. Okay, so now I'm gonna go back and then I'll go back into my git intro to see my folder, my project. Yay, I got my projects back. So that is git clone. It's getting my project from my cloud into my computer. Next one, let's try git pull. So let's say, right, I am not using my project on my own. Other people can clone my repo because they're collaborators and they make changes. So after they make changes, right, it's hard to actually do it here, but it's after they make changes, right, I also make changes. I can't exactly like try to say save into the cloud immediately. I first need to get whatever they change. If they already change the file in the cloud, right, it means my version of the latest code is different from their version of the latest code. So what I need to do is I need to update my site first to make sure that we are both aligned. And how to do that? I will use the command git pull. So git pull just pulls everything that is in the cloud into my repository. So it just tells me nothing changed, already up to date. So that's git pull. And git push, as I used just now, is just me pushing all my code into the cloud. So that's git push. Okay, and then just now I also showed git log. So if I look at my git log right now, right, it's only one thing has happened. So if I make some changes and I commit again, there will be 2 logs. So let me make some changes so that you can see. So here I can just write a console log and then I write hi. So I made some changes in my code. I will add the changes. I add all the changes. I git commit and then I just write maybe added a line of code. And then I git, oh sorry, this is actually a shortcut. What I actually did is I just committed and then now I git push. So when I push, it actually push it to my cloud now. It just directly goes into my cloud because I already did my setup. So if you see here, I refresh, right? It will actually show added a line of code. It did it. So when I git log, it actually shows that I did 2 things. So next up. Okay, now I'll go through about git merge and git branch. So I have actually saved everything in my cloud, right? Now I would like to create a branch. How can I see how many branches I have? I just have to type git branch and I will see all the branches that I have. Currently, I only have one branch called main and I am in it. And how can I tell I am in it? It has a asterisk there. So I can actually create a branch. And why do you create branches? So let's say I want to create a feature, like I want to make my project a little bit different, but I don't want to cause my current existing working project to crash or to have, like, I just want to have a different version of my project. Maybe it has an additional page, but I don't want to commit fully to that page yet. I just want to work on that page first. So I create a branch. And how do I create a branch? I just strip branch and then I write the branch name. So usually you will name your branches in a certain manner, like feature for a new thing that you're working on, and fix if you're trying to fix an existing code, or chore, which is like you're cleaning up your code. This might be a bit confusing, but it's okay if you don't understand, because these are just naming conventions that are like practiced in the working world or out there. But right now, if you want to name it the branch whatever you want, you can. But I'll just name mine feature. Maybe I'll just write feature, new feature. Okay. It's just whatever name you want. So after I create the branch, I can actually go and see what branch I created. And I created a new branch and I am not in it. So how do I change to that branch? You can use git switch to that branch name. So feature / new feature. Alternatively, you can also use Git checkout. So yeah, I can check the branch, and now I am in this new feature branch. So I can do all my changes there. So let's say I will want to delete all of this, and I want to delete this, and then I want to say this is a new branch and I am changing it. So I can do whatever I want with this branch. I can update this file, I can update this file, update as many files as I want, and I can do the same things as I can with the other branch in the previous what I've mentioned previously. So after I make my changes, I'll add my changes into the staging area, and I'll commit, and I'll save removed boilerplate code from app.jsx. So I'll commit with the message. So then after I commit, I just want to check my status. What did I just do? I have committed it into my new branch, so there's nothing in my staging area. So now I will git push. And when you git push a new branch, they'll ask you to set the branch origin to the branch name itself. So you just git push, and then it'll just notify you, and then you just git push. So what this does, right, it just creates a branch, and I push this branch to the cloud. So the cloud also keeps track of what branches I have. And how can you check that in GitHub? I will refresh, and then you'll see actually it updated almost immediately. Over here, it will tell me that I have a new branch, and it has a recent push literally 8 seconds ago. I can also see that I have new branches here. So when I click this branch, I can be in the new branch, and I can see all the files in my new branch. Also here, I go back to main branch. So what is different in my new branch and main branch? I actually changed my app.jsx, right? So right now let me clear so that it will be cleaner. So right now I am in my feature/new feature branch, right? I actually changed my app.js. If I go back into my main branch, right, I actually didn't change this. So if I git switch and go back to my main branch, it will actually bring back everything, and I didn't change it. So let's say I did all my work, right, in my new feature branch, and I'm happy with what I did. I already added and commit. So if I add and commit already, I want now, like, okay, I decided I want all these changes to be in my main branch. Usually the main branch in your workplace is like a production branch. Means after you push to this production branch, right, everybody in the world where you have deployed your website, right, can see the changes. Usually feature branch, when you push it, is not linked to any website or is deployed anywhere. So you would do all your like development and everything in other branches aside from main or master. So let's say now I have completed whatever I want to do in my feature branch, and I want to integrate it into my main branch. How can I do so? So to integrate whatever changes I did into my feature branch into my main branch, I just write this command: git merge the branch name. So I just git merge and then feature/new feature. Okay, get ready, because you'll see changes right now. Right now I'm in my main branch, and my code in my main branch look like this. I will merge. See? When I merge, everything changed. It just took whatever I had in my other branch, and then you can see it tells you what it did. Okay, so when I git status, let's see what happened. Your branch is ahead of your origin main by 1 commit, and then they're asking you to git push. So when you git push, right, that actually means that in my main here, I will update this, because instead of a new line of code, it will be an additional commit, because I did an additional commit in my feature branch, right? So now I git push, and then you'll see my main branch is updated. See, the commit message is now 3 minutes ago. Remove boilerplate code from app.jsx. So that's about branching and merging. Okay, now I'll be going through merge errors and how you actually encounter it and how you kena this kind of situation. So right now, let's check what branch I am in right now. So git branch, I'm actually in the main branch. So merge errors is actually when someone like yourself, or if you work with other people, you both are working on the same file. So let's say I am on the main branch and I am Faith, and I have done certain work here. I've actually typed this out and console log it, and I actually committed it. Here, see, I added a line of code just a while back, and my git status now is that I have nothing, and I've committed, and I've actually pushed. You can see here I make some changes, and I actually changed and added minus this and added this. So I make changes into my main branch, and let's make even more lah, just so that you know. So I have made changes in app.jsx. So I've made changes, and now I will add and commit, and then I git. Where am I first? I double check which branch I add, and I git push. So yeah, I have pushed it into the main. And let's say I have a friend that's working on another branch called feature/new feature. Also, it can be me if I forget. So if I'm in my new feature branch and I go change this app.jsx as well. So this is your friend, and she decided to change your branch, not your branch, your app.jsx file. So you make a lot of changes here, and then she also git add, git commit, make changes, and then she git push. So you both have worked on the same file and you have pushed. So now I go back to my main file, right? My main branch, and you guys want to join all your work together now. You all want to consolidate all your work because you've made changes and she's made changes. So I'm currently in my main branch, right? So it's my changes, and the feature branch is her changes. So now if I want to merge both changes, both of our code, right, I would just write git merge feature/new feature, which is her branch lah. And then I realized, oh no, I've come into conflict. Why? It's because both of us are working on the same file. I would highly recommend you guys don't do this kind of things. You talk with each other to say I'm going to touch these files, you're going to touch these files. But most of the time, sometimes you might actually work on the same files by accident. And then what happens? You'll get this merge error, merge conflict. So what you have to do is you just decide. You have to have a call and have to decide with each other. This only happens if you're a collaborator. If you are working in a working world, you'll most likely have someone above you, like a senior dev, to actually resolve the conflicts or to speak with you as to what you'll change and stuff like that. But if you're working together with someone on the same level as collaborators, this will happen. You have merge errors, and then you have to communicate with them which one you need to save and which one you don't want to save. So right now, this is my code, and this is her code, right? So here it really tells you this is the current change, and this is the incoming change. So you have to decide. And when you do a merge, right, they will actually give you these buttons to click, these things to click and to choose. You want to accept current change, which is this change. You want to accept incoming change, which is this change, or you want to accept both changes, which makes it a bit more complicated, and would highly suggest you don't do this. And you can compare changes. Usually I will just call my friend I'm working with, and then I ask, which one shall we keep, my change or your change? And then if I decide, okay, I keep your change, I just have to click this, and then it'll just take my friend's changes. After which you just have to let's try to git push without doing anything. Most of the time you'll have to git add and git commit, git push, but let's try to push. Cannot, because when you write git status, right, you realize that they didn't take in the new things that I changed. If you refresh my here, right, I tried to push, right, but nothing actually changed. I took my friend's code, right. Let's go in to see app.jsx to whether I really took in my friend's code. I did not. When I tried to push, it did not take it. So after a merge, right, you have to again do the git add, git commit, git push. So I git add -a, git commit, merge friends code, and then I git push. After which, when I push here, then it will show that I have taken my friend's code. So you see, merge friend's code, and then I go back in, and then I see my JSX. I took my friend's code. So yeah, in summary, you'll get merge errors when you and your friend are both working on the same file. Yeah, so definitely would not recommend that. And then another way to do mergers and stuff would be to create pull requests, and this would be in another video because it's a bit different. So that's all.